Another consideration rather than shopping list type thing. I have put multiple eating spots, some close, some far from the kitchen. So this is my like reflection on mud kitchens and their dining halls, because I think they are sometimes separate play spaces. Having a very discreet kitchen in all the quotes, like this is the kitchen area, and then somewhere quite far away are like, this is the pretend eating, this is the cafe, or like sometimes they're linked or whatever. So there's something about that distance, and considering if you only want to have one. So you can have one that's far away, and some people love that, like put all the things on the tray, I'm the server, I go round. My parents are like not in the kitchen with me, and I bring it to them, and it's a separate space, and so that's like lovely. I do think let me call a spade, the balance that many young participants have, especially when they're moving around in 8 layers of waterproof and the whatever else, the idea that like the fucking dining table is 20 steps that way, and then they go like, "Can I have a cup of coffee, please?" Yep. And then you watch them come back. It's very funny sometimes. You watch them come towards you with a cup that's like sloshing from all sides, and you arrive with like the tiniest like dreg of mud. Here you are. So that's a consideration that I think is interesting. Like our mud kitchen is set up with a table in the middle of the kitchen that people can literally like turn on the spot and put stuff down. And that then can also be like, I have put I've done it. I've done the whole thing independently. So that's my like recommendation.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's intentional for us or whether we've just sort of ended up with that scenario.
I think the mud kitchen just becomes a cafe so quickly, doesn't it? I think there are still kids that will bring their parent that coffee or whatever round the circle where they're sitting, and that's and I don't know if this is on your list, but we've had interesting discussions with other practitioners about how far the mud kitchen is from the main fire circle and where the parents sit. Is that on your list?
About that.
So
no, but tell people about that.
So we have spoken to other practitioners about how they have deliberately set up their mud kitchen quite some distance away from where the adults would usually sit, so around the fire circle, or where the grown-ups would be having their actual real cup of tea. And they've said they've done that deliberately because they want to foster independence in the children, and they want to give the parents or adults some breathing space and relaxation time, which we thought was really interesting because ours is pretty much next door, isn't it? It's like one of the easiest things that you can reach, having arrived, understood the fire circle and how that works. You go one direction for the mud kitchen, very, very close, and you go the other direction to the real kitchen where there is real tea and coffee, and that's very close too. And I think that really works for us, but it obviously really works the other way around for this other setting, and they see a lot of value in it. And that's worth kind of considering, I think, isn't it? If you're planning your site or developing a new mud kitchen, is like, what do I want people to be able to play here in a bit of privacy? So, for example, I've witnessed amazing mud kitchen play with year 6 children, where especially the boys were getting really, really into it. And week after week after week, they were making meatballs out of mud. And I don't think they would have done that if I was sort of based really, really close to them within earshot from day one. I think they did that because it was further away. They then invited me and were like, come to the kitchen, try the meatballs today. We've improved the sauce, all this kind of thing. But if I had been, hanging around nearby,
overbearing,
I don't think they would have done that. So positioning is important.
And then also linking to some of the other things we've said before about like what signals are in your site. We talked in another episode about like, is it just IKEA cups? Do you have real mugs for adults and all that stuff? And then thinking about like, if your mud kitchen is just set up at a small person's height, are you encouraging adults You know, like whether just to be conscious of that, you know, to go like there is nothing here that's adult height on purpose because this is a space intentionally for, you know, young
Toddlers.
people's play on their own. Or if you're running a setting where you're like, actually, do you know what ends up either accidentally or intentionally, adults end up over here with their small people, then have I set up like a few comfy chairs? Are there benches that fit an adult's height? Is this a space that encourages everyone who plays in this space? And our mud kitchen as well, this is something else that I wrote down, has worktops, if you can call them worktops, at I think 4 different heights currently.
Yeah.
From maybe the lowest is like a foot off the ground, and then middle, and I think the top one is like comfortable for you or I
Yeah.
to stand at. And just that level of like consideration, because sometimes you see those pre-made mud kitchens and they're huge long benches and they must be a very static height
Yeah.
all the way along, and so there's a point at which this becomes like physically uncomfortable to hunch over, or
And
the
we did that
signaling for
deliberately,
this is like,
didn't
yeah,
we?
oh yeah,
Because we had noticed that in our more mixed age groups, it was only the smaller children that were playing there. And we knew from being in other places that older children did get a lot out of mud kitchen play, but we're signalling to them and we are showing them practically that it's not designed for them, it's not comfortable for them to use unless we have stuff that's their height.